Good morning. I guess we can begin. It's 4:30 a.m. So excited to get my day started. Welcome to Who Am I? Or the Who Am I project or Project Who Am I or the user's manual. For now I'm calling it Who Am I? And who am I? First of all, it doesn't really matter. I am you. I am us. I am someone. I am no one, actually. That there isn't anyone who is no one. Um, as you get to know me through time, you might hear some specifics of who I am if you're interested. The show is all about who are we as a species? Who are we as vibrational, powerful creators in this vibrational, intelligent universe? Who are we as the quantum field, as the divine matrix? What is this medium that we're swimming in, is what I'm saying. What's the field effect to our lives? How does this work? What's the laws of the universe? The basic general laws of the universe. How do you operate your machinery? How do you get the universe to yield to you what it is that you want? That's going to be all part of the show. I only have 2 hours. I had been limiting myself to an hour and a half, but I just can't get everywhere I want to go in an hour and a half. So I'm expanding the show to 2 hours. I'm sorry if you were a fan of that 90-minute format. I'm so sorry, but it has to be 2 hours. We're going to talk about the laws of the universe, our personal configuration, the meaning of our emotions. We're going to touch on the fact that I believe that we've been genetically modified. It's one of the reasons why human beings seem to be a little different. Why we can't just naturally blend with our environment like most everything else does. Now, for a long time, I thought that the reason is because we were transplants, because we were from somewhere else, because that's the kind of thing that if you take one species from one place and put it in a place where it didn't evolve, sometimes it doesn't work out very well. And so I thought maybe that was what our problem was, but I don't think that's what our problem is. I think somebody gave us a little evolutionary bump. And the configuration of that bump is sort of a mind, an overview mind, a physical overview mind that now can think bigger thoughts. And so it can either resonate or not resonate with a mind you already had going that maybe you didn't know about. This cosmic universal mind that we all have access to and that we're all participating with. But anyway, we'll touch on that. Another thing, a really big part of my personal intention is that I believe that a great deal of the destructive nature of the behavior of mankind comes from, right in this moment, comes from two things: burning fossil fuels, and then in general not knowing who we are. And so I think that we need to fix that, and then release people back to their own ideas, to assimilate their past stories and to rewrite their current stories. Everybody get busy and rewrite their own story, because we are writing our story, people. We're dreaming this into place. It's not nearly as cut and dry as the scientists would have you believe. But it's very scientific too, and I have stuff to say about the mathematics of this, the mathematics of the unified universe. But we also need to talk about, just in general, how does your equipment work? Who am I? Who am I? So basically, you are a binary system. I mean, you can bifurcate the binary in so many different places and toggle it back and forth and look at the duality that appears from that angle. And we're going to do that for a bit. It's not, there's quite a lot of flexibility to this perspective. But the way I'm looking at this, the binary that we're looking at is the micro and the macro. Your conventional self and your vibrational, expansive, connected to the whole universe self. You really do have one. You really, really do. You not only have one, so this is actually, language here is going to matter a lot. You not only have one, you are one. This permanent, eternal, vibrational, loving, knowing, connected continuum, you don't just have access to it, it's what you are. You are this. When your body passes away, you get to go back and be that. There's no downside to this. This is what I have been coming to understand. There is no downside to this, and there's no question about whether or not we're getting there. We are getting there. Now, what dimension that's going to be, and whether it's actually this people and this planet exactly, or whether I don't know exactly how it works. I've never known exactly how it works, but I've always left my mind just kind of floating in this place. Well, I don't know exactly how it works, but it's kind of, this stuff kind of relates, and this stuff kind of goes together, and look how this feels like it belongs together, and gotta add it all up, you know. There's another couple of concepts of focus and attention, really, really important. It's the currency, the literal currency of this magnificent universe. And so a lot of how you are getting what you are getting is going to boil down to a really, really specific, we're talking really specific, in every moment, a toggle of which direction are you looking. And you need to start to build a momentum of looking in the forward direction. And then there's something that's going to happen to you, because the formation of the universe, the configuration of the universe is going to begin to assist you. It's going to start building a natural momentum, a momentum in the direction of what your greater self is already going. Your greater self is already going that direction, and you would be too if you in your physical self weren't fairly resistant in nature and fearful and, interfering with the process, trying to get in there and work this system when actually the universe is doing a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful job all on its own. And in a lot of ways, when I look around at humanity, there are so many things that are going well. And there are so many things that are spiritually going well. There are more people on the planet right now. There's, I don't know if it's the majority of people on the planet or just more people than have ever done this on the planet at the same time. You look around and you see people playing. You see people playing with their families. You see them playing golf. You see them on cruises. You see them on sailboats and miniature golf courses and ice cream parlors, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to see humanity at play. And then in places where art is being created, where people are dancing at high levels, or painting at high levels, or singing at high levels, or rock climbing, or it's just amazing what human beings are doing right now. Now, I could also point out a lot of places where the physical structure isn't exactly where it's going to end up, because there's so many institutions that are based on falsehoods, that are based on paradigms that actually are resistant in nature and not really going to be where we end up when we understand who we really are. And when we get into alignment with our greater selves, who are who is I don't know how to use the pronoun here. This greater part of ourselves is non-resistant in nature, completely not pushing back against anything. And I want to actually put that forward in this show. In case you don't understand where I'm coming from, if you're new to the show, if you don't know me personally, if you don't really understand the nature of this format, this platform that I'm attempting to create here, it's non-resistant. I am not pushing back against anybody. I'm just looking forward and getting really excited. There's a lot of things about this that really excite me. There's kind of a conspiracy theory at the a grand, huge, like super secret travesty at the background of this, and I think that I have finally solved the problem. I think I've finally solved the mystery, at least for myself. I have. It's like, I get why. I understand it in physicality. I understand how it's rolling out the way it is. I can see everybody, the direction they're looking and what's happening around us. I mean, it's just like, that's what's happening. And this is how to fix it. And so I'm getting really excited. What am I talking about? I'm talking about getting off fossil fuels for good and forever, and in a gentle, egalitarian, ground up kind of way. And there's two ways to do this. The first one is just understand what's happened to us in history and who did it to us, actually, although I wouldn't really advise spending all of our time chasing down the individual culprits. You did it, you did it, you did it. Because that really doesn't solve anything. When your justice system is based on... And I understand why we do it. Actually, there's a lot of reasons why we do it. One of the reasons is we need to know who we are. And we're telling a story. And history is telling the story. And one of the practical things on the ground that happens when you have a criminal justice system the way we have is everyone is concerned. There's been a lot of concern about chasing down stories, facts, figuring out exactly what happened. And there's a lot of records everywhere. There's a lot of things to follow. There's a lot of stories that you can mine to figure out the rules of the game. What's going on? I think that I think the farther off track a society gets, the more paperwork and trail it tends to leave behind, because it needs to figure out what the F is going on wrong. If you notice, in Nazi Germany was like documenting everything in triplicate. They were furiously documenting their horrific crimes. They really were. And leaving all kinds of evidence everywhere of what was going on. They couldn't help themselves because they are us. They are part of this project too. Your neighbor is your unknown self made visible. No matter what your neighbor's doing, even if your neighbor's Kim Jong-un, he is your unknown self made visible. As is Adolf Hitler, as is Heinrich Himmler, as is everyone, as is Donald Trump, as is Joe Biden, as is Hillary Clinton, they're all your unknown self made visible. And we are a wholeness. We are an integer. And you can see it, that integral nature of the universe. You can see it across the board. It's reflected in the micro and the macro. Everything is little holes, little WHOLES. It's also black holes. Black holes spelled HOLES and WHOLES. All the way up and all the way down. It's because it's all mirrors of different sizes that are reflecting all of the rest of it, all of the wholeness. I think the mirrors come down all the way down to every single Planck frequency is a potential mirror that can mirror the information of all the rest of the universe. It does mirror all of the information. And I think the thing with a human being is it has a consciousness that can read these things. The universe is freaking amazing. And it's basically amazing in a way that sorts itself out through your consciousness. That's where you get to see how freaking cool it is how it lines up within your own consciousness. And you go, wow, wow, the universe is so cool, and I am so cool, and anything is possible. So why the heck are we banging the drum continuously of what the heck is wrong in our world? Why don't we just turn and fix it? So I believe that getting off fossil fuels is going to do it, or it's actually, a lot of this is going to open up a whole new can of worms. I understand it, but I'm tired of the old can of worms. I'm ready for a new can of worms. I'm ready for the problems of the new century where, we get past this nonsense about are we going to survive or not? Are we going to kill everything off before we kill ourselves, before we blow ourselves up and turn the earth into a great big cinder? I want to get past that one because I don't want to play that one out. I'm not interested in that one. The one I'm interested in is the one where we solve the energy problem as well as the gravitational issue. But this is going to open up a big can of worms because the new technology is going to involve transportation, personal transportation, that does not need roads to go. This is going to open up some wonderful things because now we'll no longer have to slather the biosphere, the surface of the planet, with asphalt and concrete and blow big holes through mountains in order to do our roads. The problem's going to happen, though, is people are going to be able to go anywhere. And fences aren't going to matter anymore. The only thing that they're going to be holding back is the animal population. But we're going to be able to get into cracks in places where we have not been able to figure out certain things. It's going to be both a can of worms and a blessing. Now, we have to know who we are before this really unfolds, because everybody having access to free, clean energy is going to cause some problems. There's going to be people going to go off into the woods by themselves, and they're going to do little apocalypse now things. They're going to build their own little private Idahos, and there's going to be all kinds of crazy-ass stories coming out of this. But the fix is for us to generally understand who we are as a group, who we are as a oneness. And then with a sacred admonition for all individuals to go forth and be yourself authentically without interference from the outside. Encourage everyone to understand their binary nature and to soothe and encourage and assist one another to each one of us to line up with our own inner being. Because then we can all play nice. That's actually going to be the difference. It will be the difference. When we are all individually, sacredly organized through our individual connection to Source, then the organizational patterns that come forth from our behavior will be coherent and sustainable and life-supporting across the board, because Source is absolutely interested in all of us making it. In every single one of us who can plug into her, she will help organize us into... and how is she doing it? Well, it's really interesting. It's really interesting to study how it is that Source organizes us. This is going to help you understand who you are. This is going to help you understand how to blend with the world around you. Because indeed, people, I'm just not kidding about this. There is only one of us here. Quit pushing against everything, There's only one of us here. Only one of us here, and all of us are trying to get there. And you know, it's a simple question of how you are identifying. It really is. That's where your switch is. That's where your plug is. Actually, it's your plug. It's how you are plugging in the who am I question. Who am I? That's why we do this in this format. Who am I is the question. And how you answer that question literally equals how you're plugging that plug into the rest of the universe. Who am I? And when you answer that question with we are one, you get way different results on impulses, on what you think the meaning of life is, on how you feel about the flow of yourself and how you're relating to the rest of the world around you. It all changes. It's like a primary assumption sitting there on top of your operating system. What is the object of the exercise? That's absolutely a primary assumption, by the way, and how you answer that question makes all the difference in the world. The object of the exercise is to keep safe in a desperately unsafe world because I have to keep this physical body alive because it's all I am. Is that what you're thinking? Well, then how you spin the logic of the rest of your life goes from there. And it's way different than if you think to yourself something like, I am a binary system. I am both my physical self that actually is a bit fragile, so I need to watch out for it. I love it. It's really important to the equation. Others around are playing happily with it and love it too and will be sad if something happens to it. You know, it really is not worth nothing. It's very, very important to this equation, and it's me. It's me. It's the identity I'm wearing. It's the role in the play that I have selected in this moment in time, in this sacred divine moment in time. So it's important, but who I really, really, really am is this source self tethered to everything else in this single point that we all share, that we're all spinning out of. And this eternal aspect of me, so you're a binary self. And how do we want to demark the binary? Well, your conventional self and your vibrational self. You are your expirational self and your eternal self. You are your micro and your macro. All of these things you are. But I want you to know that eternal one, that continuum connected to all things, that you are the Planck field, you are the allness, you are connected to all that one, that's who you always are. You are her now. When your body lays down, you still are this other person. You have ideas, you have projects, you recognize the opportunities in a physically manifesting, rolling, physically manifesting paradigm of a divine matrix that can be anything that you can imagine. Now do you understand how important the human imagination is? It's actually your broader perspective, your vibrational aspect that is connected to the whole universe. It's that aspect of you giving you downloads. Your imagination is downloads from your inner being, from your higher self. Are they tortured downloads? Is your imagination dark and tortured, or is it light and full of joy and possibility? Well, it's still coming from your inner being. The difference would be if you're getting dark downloads, if your imagination is full of darkness, it's because your conventional self is not lined up well with who you really are. Because who you really are is pure, positive, only forward-looking, only possibility-seeking, only light self. It's only light. It's only positive energy. And so the darkness is coming from you. It's coming from the way that you've gotten yourself twirled around. You've gotten your panties are in a wad and you're turned 180 degrees backwards. There's really only two directions. You have two directions. Forward, which is the one you want to be. Forward facing, which is in alignment with your inner being, who is also forward facing. Or you can get crosswise of that, and essentially you get yourself turned backwards, and now as you try to move, you are now moving in the direction of what you don't want. Now, how fast you're moving depends on whether you're specific or general. If you find yourself in a negative place, you got to know you're backwards to your true intentions. So go general so you'll quit going so fast. Quit getting more and more specific from your negative state, because it just makes you go faster and faster in the direction that you don't want to go. There's different ways to interpret this toggle switch of forward or backwards that I'm talking about. You're either going in the direction you want to go or not in the direction you want to go. And forget about the specifics. We're talking about how it feels right now. State of negative emotion or positive emotion. If you're a mixed bag, then you need to sort it out, because your true self is not a mixed bag. Your true self is pure positive. You're throwing that resistance in there. You're throwing the negative in there, which is fine, because what you did when you did that is you're identifying what you like and what you don't like. But recognize what you're really doing. You have to sort it out, and so you have to live some experience that you don't like before you realize you have to live some war before you understand. And I mean us as a people. I don't mean every single individual does not have to be forced to go through an experience of war. That's what us being a collective being is all about. Your experiences can be my experiences without them having to be my experiences. I can take them into my being, and the way you really do it is through love. If I love you, then your experiences mean shit to me, just as though I had those experiences myself. Way, way more than if I don't care about you. If I don't care about you, then I cannot feel what you feel. If you notice, we just recently finished watching a brand new Hitler thing over on Netflix. It was actually pretty good. Hitler and his henchmen, or I can't remember. I don't know. I can't remember what it's called. But if you go over and search Hitler over on Netflix, you'll see it come up. It's 2024. It's really good. Good documentary. I've always been a watcher of the Hitler story. I like to see different people's angles on it. You know, read Rise and Fall of the Third Reich and Hitler's Loyal. Willing Executioners, that was an interesting nonfiction book. Lots and lots of fiction, historical fiction stuff based in the time. You know, Fall from Grace and The Eye of the Needle. And, you know, I've always been really fascinated with that. Love stuff on Masterpiece, The Foyle's War, one of my favorite series. Just love that show. Very fascinated with the whole phenomenon. What the F was that? Because humanity can't do that again. We cannot devolve into all-out war with one another. We don't need to do that either. What we need to do is understand who we are and align ourselves with a better system of organization so that we can coexist on this planet, 10 billion of us, or whatever the hell we're going. You know, we have 8 billion now, maybe. I don't know. I haven't kept score. We add a billion. It doesn't take very long to add another billion. And honestly, I heard a terrible, so this will never happen. Something's going to interrupt this because it's virtually not sustainable. And so things that are not sustainable will not be sustained. Something is going to come along and knock them down. They will be destroyed one way or another because they can't be sustained. It literally means no matter how hard we try, this is not sustainable. And so I'm not advocating bloody revolution or anything like that. As a matter of fact, I'm one of those people who thinks, you know, who likes that line that JFK said about those who make peaceful revolution impossible make bloody revolution inevitable, because revolution is happening, people. It's either going to happen peacefully and gently as we flow down the stream, as we, joyfully and playfully work this experience and this configuration that we've got, as we understand the paradigm that we're actually in and the possibilities that actually are in front of us, We could be doing this easily. We could be doing this the easy way. But when people resist that, they don't like change. They don't want change, and they want to hold on in fear or whatever to whatever they've got, and so they can't allow, it's what happened before the First and Second World Wars. The aristocracy was holding on to the way that the structure of the organization of society. They were holding on to it, but it wasn't a system that was providing for everybody. And those who were not being provided for were becoming angsty. They couldn't feed their children. They had a hard time living happy lives. And after the wars, the servant class and the colored people all had better lives. Especially after the Second World War, did things really start? And women started, because they hadn't been included in the bounty earlier, and it wasn't covering everybody. That's what happens when we build systems that do not cover the needs of humanity. Then the parts of humanity that fall through the cracks, that are left out of the equation, their fears and their desperation take them into negative territory, as well it should. Now, it's true that if they, from their position, would, instead of stopping there, would let their own inner beings lead them to what they want, individually they could climb out of this and help the group figure out what the whole freaking problem is. The way I like to put some of this, because I find it colorful and creative, is, when we build systems that don't cover all of humanity, what we're doing within the body of humanity, we create demons, we create demonic energy, Shiva energy. It's this fearful, and the human beings who either, it's not always the specific human beings who are not being covered who pick up the Shiva energy. Sometimes they see it from a farther view. I don't know. I don't want to get too crazy about this, but the energy is in the field as soon as you cross your energy stream. As soon as you cross your energy stream, there is an energy event that happens in the field. And there it is. It's a negative energy field. It's a shadow. It's a thing that happens because now that thing is going to happen. We can't keep it from happening at all, but we can absolutely minimize this issue. Actually, I'm going to stop here for a second, and I'm going to regroup, because I realize that I've gone in a direction that I don't want to fill out in this episode. I can go into this in further detail in some other, maybe appendix or special thing, or perhaps come from another direction on this show even at some point. But right now it's a little too far-fetched, and I haven't really covered the basics enough to really justify going as far afield as that was going to take me. Because I could go wandering down streams of thought that you might get really surprised about. Someday I'm going to do it. I'm going to do a marathon. I'm going to see how far I can get, and maybe take it as far as 12 hours. I don't know. I don't want to get so far that I'm loopy and stupid. but I want to get far enough so that I can get deep into the trail of this. What is my thesis here? I believe that knowing who we are will solve most of our problems. And from that position, we will then turn back and look at all of our institutions, all of our systems, and we will rework them until they are better aligned with who we really are and what we are really about on planet Earth. Our energy systems are going to provide at least food producing, life sustaining, climate controlling capabilities for every human being everywhere on the planet, no matter where you are. And it doesn't matter the infrastructure around you, because you don't need infrastructure. That's another big secret. We don't need the infrastructure that we keep building. As a matter of fact, the more furiously we build the infrastructure, this 20th century and even 19th century infrastructure that we don't need, the more we keep ourselves from the 21st century and 22nd century future that we are denying ourselves at this moment, that we're holding off from ourselves. Where are we really going with this? We're going to go to a place where every human being has free, clean energy, absolutely carbon neutral, no carbon whatsoever. Every single human being anywhere on the planet can plug into source energy, can plug their technology, their technological devices, their air conditioners, and their smartphones, and you know what else? When we get into better alignment, we're going to be building smartphones that are really, really good and clever and stable and sturdy, and do not have to be updated every 3 seconds and replaced every couple of years. That is nonsense. That is not the way to outfit humanity with devices that can communicate freely and cleanly with one another forever, which is what we need to do. There's all kinds of things. Planned obsolescence should be criminal, because it's a horrible drain on the biosphere, everything, on resources and everything. It's just really stupid. And we do it because we feel separate from one another. We really don't understand that we are one. We don't have to try to be one. We don't have to make our signs and get out there in the streets and, with our demonstrations and, proclaim better together. We are one. We are one. Well, we are one. We are one. We don't have to make ourselves one. We just are. And we can't get away from it. You try, you can't get away from it. And you try to subtract the people that don't fit into your picture, and that is really big trouble. That is really big trouble. We did that last century. If you study what we did last century, it was so naive. It was so raw. It was so, oh my God, we had no idea that would happen, because we did not know who we were. And we have been furiously working to make sure that never happens again. And the kinds of things that we've been doing is actually, it's our joyful, playful self that does the best job of the creations that will take us away from being that species that does that Holocaust thing like we did last century. That was so horrible. We do not ever want to do that again. But so what happened in those world wars? Why did they even happen? They happened because an enormous percentage of the population of the world acted on their negative emotion. They were frightened, they were angry, and they didn't know what else to do, and so we fought Hitler. Instead of understanding, we didn't know what was going on. We didn't know that could happen. Now we know that that can happen. And it's well documented and can be studied, can be added in, which I have done. Now, a lot of people have done that. And as a matter of fact, it's what alarmed us so much back in 2016 because there's whiffs of that in the authoritarian wing of the one of the two parties of the. Although authoritarianism, the spirit of it lurks in the shadows on both sides. On both sides. Now, one claims to be all benevolent about it. And actually, that is the difference. Your intention at the outset makes all the difference in how the outcome turns out. So if it is your intention to lovingly care for people, then the outcome is going to be better than if your intention is to stick it to those people who are responsible for, who are to blame for what the problem is. You know, if you get too focused on bringing the perpetrators to justice, you get on the wrong side of the equation. Your inner being, our inner beings are not at all interested in bringing anyone to justice. Our inner beings are interested in bringing all of us to awareness of who we are, of how the energies work, of who we are as a species, who we are as a morphogenetic field on the planet. What the hell even is a morphogenetic field? It's like an integer of wholeness, a package of I don't even know how to describe it, that contains all of the frequencies. It's a package that contains all the frequencies. That's one way to look at it. So I haven't changed my picture yet this morning. I do have a number of slides that I use to help me illustrate my points. The first one, and this is often the first one I choose to turn to. This is a binary. This picture illustrates your two minds. You are your source mind, and you are your physical mind. And I want you to know, down to the soles of your feet, from the top of your head to the soles of your feet, you really are this. And it's the scale of difference between your small and large self is actually a lot bigger than this. Who you really are is really much bigger than who you think you are. Much, much, much bigger than you think you are. You are contained in a morphogenetic field that has to do with, your family and different projects that you've been involved in over the decades, over the centuries even, all the way up to and including the whole field of humanity. And then actually you can go to layers farther than that and find yourself as the whole biofield of planet Earth, you know. And then actually it doesn't really stop there, because there's no place where you can separate the quantum field. It's all connected to itself. It is one thing, and it is holographically exchanging its information of the whole thing across all the scales, through you, to you, through you. It's everywhere. You just have a consciousness that can read it. And your consciousness is basically consists of these two things, one of which you may be completely unconscious of. You may not know that you really are your source mind. You may not be conscious of it. Your conscious mind is that one on the right. And when you can get that conscious mind into alignment with the kinds of things that your inner being is thinking about, it's thinking about big stuff, freedom and better and more and abundance and life and love and fun and that sort of thing. It's thinking about that sort of thing. In general ways, it's resting in emotions, that if you can get your physical self into any of those frequencies that your inner being is interested in, your life will go so much better. You will find those wings of emotions that you're craving. You know, the passion, the joy, the expansiveness, the satisfaction, the security, the abundance, the playful, all of those things that we all want to feel. Those feelings are what we want. That's what human beings want. There's no object that anybody wants that is for any other reason than that we think that we will feel better in the having of those objects or experiences or relationships or whatever it is you want. You want that car, you want that lover, you want that whatever it is you want. You think that you will feel better when you have that. That's the only reason why you have that. Now, you may be misinterpreting what's going to make you feel better. Or it only may make you feel better for a few minutes, or an afternoon. That new car is only going to make Esther feel better for an afternoon. She's going to have to get bigger than that. If she's having problems, she needs to come up with something better than that to give her those feelings. Well, I'll tell you what would make me feel good. I don't like to keep hearing about our problems. I would like to spend my days in a beautiful garden atmosphere, dabbling at the things I like to do, eating the foods I want to eat, playing with the people I want to play with, planning trips to see different parts of the world that I haven't seen, or, this or that, sleeping late, eating bonbons, creating, I don't know. I'm just saying I would like to, I don't want to be bothered by the fact that every time I turn around, I hear more about wars that just won't quit. The reason is we're squabbling over finite resources when the resources are not finite. They seem finite because of the way we are extracting energy from the planet. Fossil fuels, we've got to stop it. And we don't have to do a false choice between stopping fossil fuels or either going back to some sort of agrarian existence that we used to be in. There's no way that an agrarian past existence is going to feed 10 billion people on the planet. We don't have 10 billion people, but I promise you, we're going to have 10 billion people on the planet at some point. And every one of them is going to want to eat, and every one of them is going to start to want marketing goods on the human supply chain. They're going to want smartphones to connect with the rest of the world. They're going to want to connect to Masterpiece Theater and historical period pieces explaining the history of the planet Earth. They're going to want transportation vehicles that will take them, everybody's going to want everything that everybody wants. And that's going to be a problem if we don't up-level. We've got to up-level. And it isn't going to be as big a problem as we think it is. It's just going to require, first of all, some knowledge. And then it's going to require us to plug into our bigger selves who knows how to cooperate with one another in order to make all of our dreams come true. Individually. We have to do this individually. It's a ground up, it's a bottom up process. It's not a top down. That's the difference. Top down is what the problem is. That communism that the conservatives are always so uptight about. They have a reason to be uptight about that because that lockstep groupthink thing is not the way for us to organize with one another. That's the way human beings do it from the outside, from a forced position. And that is absolutely not what we want. That was a big part of what the problem was last century. The Axis powers were represented the powers of top-down forced, but it's not as clean as that either, because the Allies, part of the Allies, were the communists, and they had the same problem. And you know what? It turns out the capitalists here in America, they're fighting the same problem. The same spirit wants to rise. That same energy field wants to happen. What the hell is it? You can see it on both sides of the equation. How do you properly describe what the hell this problem is? Well, what it is it's us not being aligned. It's our two minds not being in alignment with one another. It's the small self not knowing that it has a vibrational overview that it needs to line up with. You got to screw your heart and your head back together again. That's really what the Nazis' problem was. The biggest problem that the Nazis had was that their heads and their hearts were not connected to one another, which is why they were able to perpetrate such monstrosities based on intellectual ideas that were disconnected from the individuals having to commit the atrocities, the ones working the gas chambers. It was really, really psychologically debilitating on them. Now, you might say, yeah, I'm going to feel so sorry for that Nazi, having to run the gas chamber, and how, ooh, boo-hoo, that was hard on his psyche. But it is hard on the human psyche to go again. It demonstrates a level of misalignment that is breathtaking. But it's still just misalignment. You got to line the two back up again. Paul Levy talks about this concept. He calls it Wetiko. And he has some wonderful books. Dispelling Wetiko, and then something about Dispelling Wetiko Forever. That's not exactly the name, but the word forever is in the second book. The first one was Dispelling Wetiko, and the other one is something Wetiko Forever. It's understanding what it is as a quantum field phenomenon. His work involves psychological cruelty from a father that caused him to split his psyche. These two beings that I'm showing you on the board right now, the big source mind and your physical small mind, his father's psychological cruelty caused his two selves to split from one another. He had a psychic crack up where anytime, he tried to deal with life, anyway, to heal from the psychic split, he used the wisdom of Buddhist philosophy, psychological understandings of Carl Jung, and quantum physics. And then he put his package together, and he uses the word Wetiko to describe this psychic dissociation that human beings easily carry. It's a dissociation between your two selves, is what it is. He calls it Wetiko. And he gets that term from an ancient Native American term. They would describe this condition, this Wetiko disease, as they would call it. The way they would draw it is they would draw the little figure of the human being that's got the Wetiko. They would draw the head separated from the body, because that's what it is. The head and the heart not connected to one another. You actually have two brains. You have a little brain in your heart, some 40,000 neural cells, exactly like the ones in your brain, and they call it the little brain in the heart. And your two brains need to be lined up with one another, or you are not functioning as a human being correctly. There is the Heart Math Institute has been studying this heart-brain connection for the last 25 years from a very scientific and frequency-based and technology and repeatable and graphing, whatever. They teach their methods to all kinds of people. It's not religion or anything, but they teach you how to there's a little quick heart-brain coherence exercise you can do. You breathe, you touch your heart area, breathe through your heart, then invoke a feeling of gratitude for something into your space. Combine all of that together, and then now you're lined up, and now face your problem or your day or your question or whatever. You're better lined up now. They teach it to the military. They teach it to the police force. They teach it to people in business. They teach it to all kinds of things, because no matter where you are in your life in this world, if your head and your heart are connected to one another, then you're doing a much better job of navigating your happy life than if you are ignoring what your heart is saying and, focused on some mental paradigm that you've convinced yourself of, that no matter what you're following. That's exactly what the Nazis did, and it was breathtakingly horrible. Breathtakingly horrible. There's another thing that they did, and that was this subtraction consciousness, where the idea is that you can subtract anything from the situation, in like literally subtract it, and then everything's going to be fine. They thought that if they subtracted all the undesirables, then the world would just be this wonderful, magical, glorious, happy place. How did that work out? Not so well. Well, what have we been doing in the last 100 years to make sure that that doesn't happen again? The biggest thing we've been doing has to do with media, has to do with where and how our attention can be captured in a million jillion different ways. Because back before the World Wars, we didn't have very many ways that we could communicate with one another. We were much more in lockstep about what we thought was true about the world. Fortunately, there are now almost as many human beings, there's almost as many different ways of looking at it as there are human beings on the planet. And actually there are really that many ways of looking at it, but the point is, when news of certain things came out, like the murder of Archduke Ferdinand, or even the Reichstag fire, or different things, big things back whenever, it wasn't like all of the population was busy watching cat videos or blooper videos or making videos or playing golf or we are scattered in a jillion different directions, and you cannot get millions and millions and millions of the greater population to pull the levers of the military. If hopefully we do not get full cooperation in a world war ever again. That way they will stay limited wars. Now, I know the people in Ukraine are not really happy about us not wanting to jump in and help them in a worldwide way, but honestly, the whole thing is way bigger than anybody is giving it credit for. We need to understand who we are. And from that understanding, we will line ourselves back up with our loving, connected, conscious, universal conscious source energy aspect of ourselves, and start playing nicer with one another. We'll start building systems that are sustainable and sustaining to all of the rest of the... So why don't we already? Because I know we want to. The reason we don't is because we're extracting energy the wrong way. Now, why do I think that is... Why am I so sure that we don't have to be on fossil fuels? Well, first of all, I put in my videos right now, because I'm very technologically inept, in the description, there's this links list. And this is all the links to the things I want to share with you. The Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. That is a documentary showing a full century, more than a century, of the suppression, often brutal suppression, of devices that would have incrementally gotten us off of fossil fuels already. But they were all brutally suppressed in the name of everything from national security to just, I don't know. Sometimes it wasn't even named, but they were just suppressed. People go to the patent office with these brilliant ideas and they are shut down. And those all the plans disappear. And what the hell are you talking about? Anyway, go watch that movie. It's I put the YouTube link so it's free. And then the next is a paper written by Nassim Haramein. Did you know that quantum physics, the quantum world, the world of the teeny tiny and the massively dense field at the quantum level, and the cosmological world of the big stuff, that mathematics has been reconciled. That has been done. The quantum and cosmological physics has been unified. You may not have heard of it because commercial mainstream physicists like Brian Cox and stuff, I don't know that they have accepted this. I don't know. I don't pay a lot of attention to. I can't process everything, okay? Alls I know is that when I look at this other thing, it makes so much sense to me. I get it. And I absolutely believe that that our understanding of this is going to be the way to turn our technology that direction, so that we can start as a species creating abundance instead of creating sixth mass extinction, which is what we're doing right now as we keep cutting the threads of the biofield. And we need to stop doing that. We need to start building it back up. Co-creating with this biofield on planet Earth, co-creating with the abundance, with one another. Accept that we are one, and then just deal with it from there. We are one, now be your individual best as an individual. And the individual should never... it's not that the allness... we'll talk about this, the hierarchy of this. I want to get through this list first. So, Origin of Mass, Nature of Gravity, that's the YouTube video explaining the paper. That was the one published back last September. He started with one in 2012 that unified. This is what happens when you take that Planck at the Planck density and the Planck size, and you grow it to the size of the universe. The density is the correct density. It's not the density of just the matter. It's the density of the matter plus dark matter and dark energy. It's the right density to hold the universe together. The universe is a Planck that has been grown to the size of a universe. And that's likely how it happened. It was flung from another universe at a different density. When that Planck hit this lighter density, that enormous difference went boom into a Big Bang. But it also means that our Big Bang is not an isolated event. That's the way universes are born. And there's probably as many universes as there are consciousnesses to imagine them. And that all gets really esoteric. And let's keep going. Quantum Revolution, that's the first episode of Nassim Haramein's 12-episode series over on Gaia, describing in general how this works, this black hole structure, the spinning nature of space-time, the zero-point energy field, the unification of all of the forces, gravity, strong force, weak force, all of that. Explains all of that. In layman's terms. Then we have The Connected Universe. That was the movie that was made about this in 2016, narrated by Patrick Stewart. It's great. Then Living in the Future's Past, that was a movie made by Jeff Bridges. It's not exactly about this. It talks about us as a superorganism and as us being made of oil, and kind of gives kind of an overview look at the human project, the human species. Then all of the articles that Paul Levy has put in, and then Origin of Mass and Nature of Gravity paper. That's the paper itself, if you want to look at the paper that YouTube video is describing. And then that last one, the Whirling Dervishes, I just love that one because it is spin. The universe is organizing us through the organization of spin, because all the spins connect back to the original, to the source. That's how come source knows where everything is, how it's moving, how the desires around you connect to your desires, because all those rockets of all those desires are energy emissions. They're energy signatures that the universe is connecting to and coordinating. We live in a really, really, really amazing, cool universe, and we possess equipment that is amazing and cool. Somebody bumped us up about 200,000 years ago, and like it or not, now I'm not sure I'm really all that happy that they did that. Wouldn't it have been nicer if we just incrementally evolved over millions of years? Then we would know who we are. Instead, we got this artificial bump when someone artificially inflated our neocortex, which our prefrontal cortex, it is our overview mind. It is that aspect of our physical mind that relates to the overview mind of the cosmos. It's that aspect. It's the mind that, so one more time, I'm gonna show this picture just really quick. It's the aspect of your mind that mimics most your source mind. And I've got, let's see, here's your neocortex. It's an overlayer over your mammalian brain, over your lizard brain. When you develop this larger neocortex, you didn't trade in your lower hormonally based, very physically grounded minds that are built to respond to your immediate environment, to respond to threats in your environment, threats to your territory, threats to your children, drives to make sure that you reproduce, that you keep breathing, that you eat when when you need it, and all that kind of stuff. You don't trade those minds in but that you now have an overview aspect to your ability to think. This is why human beings are different. And it's what creates human emotion, because the emotion is created by the relativity between your neocortex mind and your source mind. When you think thoughts that are in alignment, in the flow of, in the frequencies that your inner being is looking at things, then you feel good and you have positive emotion. When you think thoughts that run opposite, that cross the positive, forward-flowing, desire-fulfilling stream that your source is all about, when you cross that with your neocortex thoughts, with your physical mind's thoughts, then you feel the discord of that, and that feels to you like negative emotion. That's what your emotions are. Don't ever think that they are anything else. Now, you may be reacting to things that you truly do not prefer, and you are allowed to prefer or not prefer whatever it is whatever's real for you. Prefer what you prefer. But once you've identified what in the field you don't like and identified what it is that you would rather have, Learn how to focus on the rather have than on the what you've got. Take what you've got only as a springboard to where you're going. It doesn't have to be where you, if you sit and just stare at only what is around you, because of the nature of you, because of the way your creative configuration is configured, all you will get is more of what you've got. And if you're staring at the aspects that you don't like, you will get more and more and more of those aspects that you don't like. You think it's working a different way, but it's not. It's not. It is your attention and your focus is the secret of everything. Your attention and your focus is determining which direction you're facing. Are you facing forward or backward? If you're facing forward, get specific and have fun, have a ball. If you slam up against something that is displeasing, a thought or whatever, it starts getting hold of you, and now you've gotten yourself tangled up, you're facing the other way, you're facing backwards. Now slow down, go general, take a nap, go take care of yourself. There is nothing more important than taking care of how you feel. Because if you feel in negative emotion and then insist on acting anyway, I'm telling you, you are unleashing demons upon us all. Truly you are. You're actually creating shadow energy streams that we all have to deal with because we are all one morphogenetic field. And what you do affects me, and what I do affects you. And that's why we can't get out of our each other's effing business, even though we need to. And how would we get out of each other's business? Well, I'll tell you how you get out of everybody else's business. And this is really profound, actually. Just go mind your own. And that's what I have been doing. I'm almost a hermit, and you don't have to be that much, but it helps. It makes it a lot easier to put everything together when you aren't hearing everybody else's opinions about it. The opinions that you hear from everybody else are only coming to you from the outside. That's why they can never tell you what you need to know about what you need to do from where you are standing on the grid, because they can't see where you are from the inside. They can only see it from the outside. And so they can give you some limited information on, your positioning and stuff, but you really have to line up with your inner being in order to really have a good handle on your positioning. Here's your emotional guidance scale. This will tell you how well you are doing vibrationally in that lining up with your inner being business. By the way, spoiler alert, if you find yourself in alignment with your inner being, you're going to start thinking the kinds of thoughts that your inner being thinks. Things like, there's only one of us here, and a loving, expansive, kindness that you start feeling for all the rest of humanity. All of us, even the ornery ones, the ones who are acting up and misbehaving and spoiling it for the rest of us. Well, what really is the problem? The problem is we don't know who we are. On the one hand, that's part of the problem. The other thing is we need a better source of energy so that the scarcity can stop. The scarcity is being caused by all the human beings across the globe trying to capitalize, trying to monetize so that they can cash in, so that they can tap in to the human supply stream. All of that wonderful technology and fabulous, innovative and delicious and delightful foodstuffs and, glittering, glorious gems and, jewelry stuff and all the things that human beings want that other human beings make. We want to have an access to it. And so you have to come up with money. And that money tags you in. And what is that money mostly these days? They're petrodollars. It's mostly people, and if there were more sources of energy could be put up on the marketplace and could be used to trade for other goods. that other people are coming up with, and there just isn't enough energy to supply the needs of all of the people who want to control their climate and build theme parks and transport themselves from here to there, and there just isn't enough. And the more we want, the more we have to dig up, and then we burn it, and then we're cindering the planet, and we're killing the lungs of the... So what are the woes of humanity in a nutshell, in a teeny tiny nutshell? The enormous woes of humanity: 6 mass extinction, global warming, wars, desertification, growing deserts, the fact that we're killing ourselves and we're killing everything around us. That is just, it has got to stop. We need to understand who we are, and we need to understand who all the blessed non-human creatures are too, and quit killing all of them. Quit orphaning the elephants in Africa. When we kill the adults, they can no longer teach the culture to the young ones. And do you know elephant culture? Do you know how to teach a young elephant how to live in this world? I don't. Anyway, the reason that someone would kill the adults instead of just loving the adults and watching them and marveling is because they want in on the human supply chain. But there's a way out of this. We need to understand who we are and what source energy is, and then we plug our instruments directly into source energy, and we can stop all fossil fuel burning. Anywhere, everywhere. We don't need to do it. We haven't needed to do it for a long time. And I'll tell you, the answer is not solar, and the answer is not electric cars, and the answer is not wind power. It's none of those things. It's none of those things. And that is what is shocking, that nobody knows what it is and where it's going to come from. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. This is where it's going to come from. Source energy. Solid state devices that you just tune your technology into the power source. And everyone has one in their house, a little solid state device. You don't need wires. Once we conquer gravity, you don't need roads. We don't need to be putting so much effort behind improving our the current state of affairs airports, because that ain't the way we're traveling in the future. It isn't. But right now, I mean, one of the things that human beings really do love to do, and it is something that we will continue to do in the future, it is a big something that we will continue to do in the future. And it will be part of the circulation, the life circulation of the biofield of the morphogenetic field of humanity on planet Earth. One of the things we love to do is we love to travel around the world and look at and visit one another, meet one another, see each other's wildlife, eat each other's native foods, and, listen to each other's music and play and dance with each other. We love to do that. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to do it more and more and more and more and more and more, as a matter of fact. And we're gonna be visiting cooler and cooler and cooler ideas, because people are going to be able to go off on their own without being plugged into the effing grid, tapped into this dirty fossil fuel use that we do now. Start envisioning this, people, because it's going to be fantastic. Is it going to open up massive cans of worms? Absolutely. I think the reason we haven't already done it is because it implies so many things so many cans of worms are going to be opened up by us knowing who we are. The world is way more mythological than you think, and so there's probably going to be people who are going to play the role of the villain, the demon. They're going to get a kick out of it, but we're going to see through it because we're going to know what is really going on, who we really are, and how this really works, and we're going to tame that demon. The way you defeat the Nazi is not by bombing him into oblivion, but by realigning his two selves that he has completely gotten crosswise with. And his completely getting crosswise with his own self is creating demons in the world that are unspeakable in their ability to create suffering and darkness, as the Holocaust will attest to. So, anyway, I think this is the way out of the wilderness, and I think that it will also help us as individuals find our own lives. Did you know that you create your own reality? You are creating it at all times. Steps 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Step 1, life contrast causes me to ask for more, for better, for what I want. And the what I want part of it, not the focusing on the icky that I've got, but the what I have identified that I want part of it, your inner being recognizes, identifies, goes straight there without any resistance whatsoever, and holds that frequency for you to line up with and find. You go line up with that frequency that your inner being is holding for you. Your inner being is holding for you. So it's part of you. It's a frequency within you. Go find it. Where is it? It's in that place where you have faith that there's an answer. You know, it's in your positive expectation. It's in your ability to imagine the reality of the thing you want. That's where the frequency is. Go find it, and your inner being will guide your impulses to the life where you will find that. It's hard to describe this. Step 1, you ask. Step 2, source answers with that frequency. Step 3, you've got to get into alignment with that frequency. That's your work. Step 1 is your work, living the contrast, being here in the muck, exposing yourself to the dangers of sadness and fear here in this physical life. That's step 1. Step 2, every step of the way, every time you ask for more, Source is answering you. Source is answering you. Source is answering you. But if you stay in step 1, just noticing what you don't have, you will never receive the answer. You'll have to die and then come back as a baby without that resistance in a new life before you can start moving that direction. That's why the work has been so slow. Our grandfathers have had to die. And the young folk who just don't listen to their parents, who are not concerned about all the things their parents are afraid of. It's taken them moving the ball forward to get anything to go forward. But now we live in this really amazing, magical time where it is possible to understand the laws of the universe in an abstract way and then apply them to your life now. Now, be a conscious creator of your own life now. You don't have to wait until you die and let the future generations reap the benefits of the rockets of desire that you have launched. Understand that you can ride them yourself. How do you do that? Get into alignment with what your inner being knows to be true about the world. That you are okay. That life is okay. That you are safe no matter what. That even death is safe, safe, safe. That even the Holocaust was safe, safe, safe. Actually, it isn't safe at all, is it? What's not safe? Not being in alignment with your inner being. That's what's not safe. Life is safe. Not being with your inner being is what's not safe. Being out there on the ragged, raw edge of this world of physicality with its dangerous dangers of fear and pain and sadness and all those things. It is not safe to be here without your inner being. That's actually the lesson. That's the message. Don't go anywhere without your inner being. How can you tell if your inner being is with you or not? We're talking about in thought now, right? We're talking about in thought. How you can tell when you go someplace that your inner being is not there is the way it feels. So if you take a thought and it feels bad, spit it out right away. Pick a different thought. There's all kinds of thoughts to pick. Your inner being's thinking all kinds of thoughts. Pick one that it's thinking. Ooh, wouldn't it be interesting to look at this? Or wouldn't it be fun to do that? And actually, the whole world is so interesting. It's so full of this whole story that I'm working on. It has everything in it. It has conspiracy theories. It has this massive hidden truth, I find that incredibly interesting. The fact that this has been hidden from us for over 100 years, I find it wildly exciting on the one hand. I could get really angry about it. But, I understand the consciousness had to get to a certain place before it's really even safe to put us on gravity-defying vehicles that can go anywhere and do anything. It actually, we needed to be a little farther along in the self-awareness department before it's safe to send everybody off into the bushes with a full energy supply that they can do whatever they want to with. They can go off and have their little mind control polygamous cults. This is how come the consciousness really needs to rise. The reason you have cult leaders is because when a superstitious person who has been raised with ideas about what reality is and who they are, and that is nonsense, oftentimes when they find themselves wandering into universal consciousness, which everyone has access to, by the way, but when someone like that wanders into universal consciousness, somehow they imagine that they are the only ones there. We should be talking about this amongst ourselves so that we collectively understand what this place is when we wander into it. This place where Abraham is, where Seth was tapping into, where I attempt to tap into every morning. This place of non-resistance. This place where we can think and talk about all things without pushing back against anything. There's nothing wrong with anything. There's nothing going wrong here. It's simply, the wrongness is simply where we don't understand how it works and who we are. It's not that it's not working correctly, it's working perfectly. It's just we don't understand it. And so we're like a bull in a china shop. As we we think that the manifestation is primary, and so we fix on it and we focus on it all the way up to and including enormous momentum of negative emotion, and we act through that negative emotion, and as we do it, we're springing demonic energy into the field all around us. And then when other people react to that demonic energy, we blame them. You're a demon. You're a demon. You need to be burned at the stake. You need to be pilloried in the town square. You need to be... It's funny. I watch a lot of British television, and a lot of it is whodunits and murder stuff, and every single time when you figure out who did it, the person who did it becomes a non-person. All the people who loved them, they don't love them anymore, because now they realize, oh, you're a bad person. I thought you were a good person. You're a bad person. It's just sickening, actually, when you think about it, how widespread our misunderstanding of who we are actually is. Now, I'd be discouraged by that if I really thought about that a lot, but I don't think it's really discouraging anyway, because our information, this small amount of information that I'm giving you can be enough for you to go off on your own, and you'll start picking up the clues of all of the people who are starting to figure it out all around you. There is a whole lot of people who are starting to figure out that we are one It's the field. It's all about frequencies, and we are transmitters and receivers. We are not, solid objects. We are transmitting a signal to the universe. The universe is responding by impulses that we get to move this way or that way, rendezvous and all that. We are in control of our own agenda, our own path, our own projects and all of that. We are creating our own individual life experience. And as we do it from alignment, we sort of influence in a positive way the field around us to also become more coherent and less chaotic. There is an organization of chaos and there is an organization of coherence. They are both. So storms are organized. They're organized sort of as an outward spin of destructive force. That's the energy that you create when you cross your own energy stream. And I'm pointing at this picture right now when I say that. When you cross your own energy stream, when that smaller self crosses in its thoughts, the thoughts already going on in your bigger self. You need to get yourself in alignment. And there's all kinds of good news. There's so much wonderful news about this. So remember, I said the steps of creation, step 1, 2, 3. Step 1, you ask. Step 2, source answers. Step 3, you got to get into the receiving mode so that you can receive the clear impulses to follow the path to get what it is that you've asked for. Step 4 is getting really good at that, so that you're generally in a good place. Might get hit a little bit with negative emotion from time to time, but you are so good at pivoting. You are almost never in a negative state. Then step 5 is you actually have fallen back into a moment of negative emotion, but instead of being mad at all about it, and this is where I am now. When I land in a state of negative emotion now, when I come out of it, there is so much incredible insights and information and vistas of understanding that pour in at me, things to be mined from a bout into negative emotion. It is just breathtaking. It's almost a blessing. Although I don't like negative emotion. I hate it when I'm there. But when I come out of it now, it's like, so step 5 is you're back in step 1 and you're not mad because you know the process now. You know that step 1 is really an important part to allow you to clarify what it is you really want. So maybe you have to live with an alcoholic before you can really appreciate sobriety. Maybe you have to be an alcoholic for a minute before you recognize that you really value sobriety. Or you live in a war zone and then you really, really, really want peace. So you have to be the change you want to see in the world. But what that means, don't do it from the outside and flog yourself about, I don't minister to the poor enough. Just be charitable in the way you think. You don't have to change one thing at first. And you don't actually have to change anything. You will be inspired to change certain things at some point, and only do the changes when you're inspired to, when it feels right, when the flow is that direction. You don't ever have to force anything. Don't force anything, ever. Flow downstream. Flow downstream. Go with the flow. Resistance is futile. Resistance gets you nowhere. I'll tell you what resistance gets you. When you resist the things that you do not like, they get hot and multiply. They don't go away. Just like the things in Bellatrix Lestrange's Gringotts bank vault. When you resist things, when you push against things, they just get hot and multiply. If you want them to go away, avert your attention, move your attention into the realm of what you want, not the realm of what you've got, where what you want isn't there. So think about money. Don't think about the fact that I don't have money and I want it. That's not where there's a subtle difference in frequency between. So the subject of money isn't just one subject. There's a lackful subject and there's a not a whatever the opposite of lackful is. It's like the way Abraham describes it. Every subject is like a stick with two ends. One end's got what you want on it, and the other end has the absence of what you want on it. Which one are you thinking about? Are you thinking about its presence or its absence? Well, if you're sitting there noticing that you don't have it and how unhappy you are that you don't have it, then you're not noticing its presence, you're noticing its absence. So, well, there's a trick to that, actually. That is part of the process. It has to do with focusing on the unseen, focusing on the vibration of it. Even though you can't actually see it yet, you can feel the vibration of it, you can focus there, and you can get it to come into being. That's all part of the art of allowing, the science of deliberate creation. All of that. It's all part of that. So hold on one second. I gotta take a very, very quick break. As promised, that was an extremely quick break. We're talking about the laws of the universe right now. We're talking about the art of deliberate creation. Or the art of allowing is actually the way she had to soften that. They started with the science of deliberate creation, but then people got too heady about it. And they weren't realizing that the universe is already doing it. And all you need to do is recognize what it's about, get out of the way, and whenever possible, assist and enhance what it's already trying to do, which is absolutely marvelous and wonderful. What it's trying to do is give every single creature what it needs, what it desires, actually. But when needs and desires cross, then it wants to give everybody what they need. Now, in the animal kingdom, those two are the same thing. Animals want what they need. They actually don't really want much of anything else. They aren't wanting the kind... There's a lot of things that human beings want that they don't need. There's not a lot of things that animals want that they don't need. So what are the needs? Let's see. We're talking about the laws of the universe, so it's appropriate to bring this in. I've been talking about some of Abraham's work. The step 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's hers. Bashar has some stuff, some downloads that he's done. The 1, 3, 5, 7, 11 download is an interesting one. The significance of the 1 is the allness that we're one with. The 3 is the perspective, because you can't just go polarity, because if you have a binary system, if you have a polarity, there is always an implicate center position by which you can observe both ends. So the 1 goes to 3. And then the 5 refers to the 5 basic things that you need in order to continue your physical life. Air, water, sleep, food. And these are all in the order of, if you don't have them, you will die. The sleep one, you'll go psychic. You'll go psychotic and, fizzle out some spectacular way, likely, if you don't get sleep before you die of no food. Then shelter doesn't have to be a house, just has to be some sheltering environment conducive to the continuation of your physical being. It can't be too hot for the way you're... Anyway, shelter And relationship doesn't have to be with your own kind. It could even be, doesn't have to be it could be with the cosmos. It could be with a volleyball, Wilson. And then the last one is expression. Those last two, it'll take you a while to fizzle out if you don't have the last two, but you will slow down and stop if you don't get the other two. If you aren't able to express yourself and you don't have a relationship, you will fizzle out. So that's the 5. That's the 7s. No, wait a minute. That's the 7. The 5 is the 5 things that don't change. You exist. There's nothing you can do to change that. Let's see. I'm going to find that one. Okay, this is the list of 5. You exist. There's nothing you can do to change that. Number 2, everything is here and now. There is nothing you can do to change that. The 1 is all, and the all are 1. There is nothing you can do to change that. What you put out is what you get back. There's nothing you can do to change that. It's a frequency thing. You're putting out a frequency, and the universe is coming back to you on the same frequency. And the last one is everything changes except for the laws. There's nothing you can do to change that. There's nothing you can do to keep the rolling manifestation from rolling. It will roll on. Oh, sorry, I need to grab I was going to grab a flashlight, but I don't see one there. Where's my flashlight? All right, well, I'll turn this light back on. As long as we're onto the wisdom of Bashar, I'm going to share another thing with you. The 11, by the way, is the 11 aspects of joy, and I actually don't know what those 11 aspects of joy are. But Bashar's formula is always follow the farthest point of your passion. Don't just translate it into a physical whatever and then follow that until, you crash and burn. I'm saying follow the feeling. In any given moment, well, just follow your passion, because your passion is your inner being communicating with you at that point. And when you run out, when the feeling dissipates, find it again and follow it again. And be flexible on what you're thinking about, what the translation of it is. Because remember, you only ever want whatever you think you want because you think that it will make you feel the feelings that you want to feel. What are the feelings you want to feel? Safe, happy, passionate, joyful, free. These feelings, that's what you want. And so what experience will get you there? You could either sit there with your physical brain and try to come up with ideas about what might get you to those feelings, or you can just summon the feeling and then hold the feeling and watch the universe fill in around that feeling. I'm not talking about, I guess I am talking about, I'm very reality based. I want you to know that all of this stuff that I'm coming from is not a head in the sand, not looking at reality. This is deeply, deeply looking at true, actual reality. How flexible it really is, how connected, how joyful, how blessed, how beautiful it all really is. That's what I'm talking about, and how to use all of this information to help you construct the life you want, that's going to bring you your dreams come true, instead of the continuing nightmaring that you might be doing and then thrashing about and blaming it on things around you. It's that. No, it's not. It's you. You're getting back exactly what you're putting out. It's just reflecting in funny ways or magnifying in funny ways, and you're not recognizing it, but it's you. So that's actually good news, because it means you have control of everything. which means as soon as you understand who you are, it is absolutely impossible for anyone to ever get in between you and you. I am now referring to the picture that I realize is just up. Let's see, I'm an hour and 44. Let's see. I found this list. It's a permission slip list that I wrote down that Bashar did. Let's see if it's interesting. Well, let's see. For the first 5 minutes, simply get ready and relax. Repeat. I am who I am for a reason. Creation doesn't make mistakes. That's the first one. I am who I am for a reason. Creation does not make mistakes. No insistence, no resistance. Don't insist on the universe giving you what you want in exactly the way you think it has to. Your insistence on any particular outcome is resistance to the universe's ability to bring you everything you want in magnificent, exciting, surprising, and delightful ways. I am an indestructible being. I am an indestructible, eternal being. This one, my 2 hours every morning of meditating upon this truth is really starting to change my outlook. Intellectually and psychologically, I understood this, but when I come into this space and talk about it for 2 hours every day, I'm coming to really be solid on this one. We really are this eternal aspect. As a matter of fact, speaking of which, actually, I'll just leave this up. You don't have to look at this picture. If you are a fan of the show, you know that it's a listening thing. Every once in a while, I will direct your attention to a slide I might be changing. But for the most part, it's just me talking, and you don't need to be looking at my screen anyway. It's just showing freaking apertures, one of them wide open and the other one real tightly, tiny, and specifically focused. Do you get why I picked that as a picture? Let's see. Number 4, the past and the future are illusions. There is only now. Number 5, everything happens in perfect timing. I will miss nothing. And actually, if you get yourself into alignment with your inner being, that is exactly, your timing will be exquisite. Because the universe knows how to time everything, because it knows what everything is turning on. It knows the speed I'm turning at, it knows the speed you're turning at, it knows what everybody is doing and how to organize it. Source is actually the only thing that we can trust to have the sophisticated ability to organize us all based on what we all want, what we all need, where we all are. And if we all align with our source, source will organize us perfectly. Not from the outside, but from the inside, and each individual gets to call their own shot. How does that sound? It's what the libertarians have always wanted. And it's going to be fine, even for the progressive Democrats who want, the big government and all that kind of thing. Because if we're doing all of that in alignment, then where we connect as a government, that's going to be blessed too. It's going to all be fine. We just need to line up with our inner beings and act accordingly. Let's see. Everything happens. Okay. My life is my own. No one can live it for you. Boy, isn't that the truth? Let's see, number 7. I am unconditionally supported by creation. This is absolutely true. You are unconditionally, literally unconditionally, lovingly, kindly, wisely supported by all of creation. Absolutely. Let's see. I am an expression of nature. Yes, I absolutely am an expression of nature. I am an expression of the allness, of the nature of the Planck field, of the... Now, interestingly enough, I think that we are genetically modified. I think somebody did it to our neocortex by way of human chromosome number 2. I'm going to show you that in a minute. I realize I haven't showed it today. I got to finish this permission slip, though. Number 9, I always have exactly what I need. In any given moment, look around you. You have everything you need to make the next step, 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 to end up exactly where you want to go. Even if you don't know where you want to go, I'll tell you where you want to go. You want to go to a place where you are safe, where it is beautiful around you, where it is abundant and filled with life around you, where you are comfortable, where you feel free and safe and loved, where you have happy people and creatures all around you, where your life's work is fulfilling and joyful, and you feel the creation under your hands. All of that is what you want. It's what I want. That's the general part of what we want. Now, how do you translate that into specifics? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? Let's see. Number 10. I give and receive joy, love, and compassion. I give and receive joy, love, and compassion. You have everything you need. I already said that one. 11. My life is a synchronous orchestration. That's actually true. It is a synchronous orchestration, and the closer you get your two beings, your two spinning discs of attraction, your two separate but not separate selves into alignment with one another, then the more synchronistic the more you're going to be amazed at how your life lines up with other players on the board. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. Right now, I'm hermetized. And so I have no idea what's coming at me, but I just know it's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. And number 12, I am free to choose. I am absolutely free to choose. I am free to choose all the way to... So my ability to choose a planet that makes it to a peaceful, loving, joyful place does not interfere with your right to choose a planet that you can go blow up if you want to. I shouldn't say it that flippantly, because it's all very, very serious. And on that planet where, somebody might choose to get really... What I'm saying is you don't have to worry about what other people are doing. Only worry about what you are doing. And you head for the world and the life and the experience that you're looking for. The one that floats your boat. The one that you think would be fun, that you think that we would all enjoy. You just go for that one, and don't worry about whether people are going to cooperate or not, because it really doesn't matter. I mean, it does, and they will, but you don't have to worry about it. And as a matter of fact, if you start worrying about it, then it won't happen the way you want it to. You have to do it from the inside. We all have to do it from the inside. No one else can live your life for you. No one else can play your position on the grid, on the board. No one else can do it. You're the only one who can. So before I leave, I do want to pull this up. This is my evidence. This is just a little article over at the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences. It's where our scientific disciplines publish their work to each other. They publish it to their peers. And the reason they do that is because only their peers really understand this intensely specialized jargon that they use. The language of your specialty. only your peers understand it. And so you publish it to your peers, and your peers don't just look at it and applaud. It's not like that. You publish it to your peers so that they can review it, so that they can look at it. And if they decide that you're wrong, they can challenge it. And they do that in front of their peers, and they can make their careers by, some really smart person publishes something really, really smart and revolutionary, and his career is made. And then somebody else comes by and says, nope, I can see a flaw in that. This is what's really it. And then he makes his career of that. They do that. It's how they sort out the truth about what they're studying, about what they're realizing about the world. And these people, they studied human chromosome number 2, and look at what they decide. They decide that it's the relic, right here at the bottom. We conclude it's the relic of an ancient telomere-to-telomere fusion of 2 other chromosomes, and marks the point at which 2 ancestral ape chromosomes fused to give rise to human chromosome number 2. So the ones that fused weren't human chromosomes, but now they are. And what do they give rise to? They give rise to this neocortex, which gives us our overview mind, our human emotions, our human imagination, our human connection to our inner being. All creatures have an inner being, but we have this separation of our inner being. We have this ability to line up with it or not. Not all the other creatures have it. Now, it means that when we go wrong, we can go spectacularly wrong. But in the spectacularly wrong that we go, we imply every step of the way who we are and how this works. And that's what the whole exercise was about. A big freaking visual illustration that you can't deny, you can't ignore. It's just too big. You just have to see it. And we cannot let what happened last century happen again. It cannot happen again. We declare worldwide war against one another, and there's too many nuclear bombs everywhere. It would be so easy for us to just annihilate the world. And why would we do that? We're sitting in the most amazing position. The most amazing position. I also realize that I'm coming up on an hour and 57 minutes. I don't want to go over 2 hours. I have decided that the show is hereafter going to be a 2-hour show, not a 1.5-hour show. I just can't help it. I can't get all the way around the circle without a full 2 hours. I always end up, with something left out, and then I feel bad. Okay, here we go. Here's the paper that I mentioned in the list of links that I'm going to leave in the description. I have all kinds of pictures that I clipped out of the video that's the description of this paper. Oh man, I have to go really fast because I don't want to go over 2 hours. There's the Planck length. Let's see. Here's just go look at the links that I've showed you because they're all cool. Go look at all that stuff. I also have a little bit of stuff on cymatics that I did it yesterday. I guess I don't have to do that one every day. If you become a fan of the show, you'll see it. You'll see my little thing. I bring in the cymatics just to help people imagine that we are vibrational beings, and we truly, truly, truly do live in a vibrational universe. In a universe that is literally made of frequencies, small and large. And all of the large ones are actually made of small ones spinning together. And what is the smallest frequency we've got? It's the Planck. That's what everything is made up of, is the Planck. That's the quanta. That's the Q word that they talk about. That's the quantum thing they're talking about, is this Planck field. And even when it is not organized, when it is at 0 point, so it's not spinning into matter or anything like that. It's at its resting state. It is almost infinitely energetic as these Plancks jiggle with one another, this cosmic jiggle of space-time. That's what we're all made of. Anyway, I think I've probably done it for the day. I'll see you back here tomorrow. I love you so much. I'm so pleased that you were with me today, and I look forward to our adventure tomorrow. Until then, I wish you well. I bid you peace. I love you so much. And above all, may the source always be with you.